Okay, here's 5 things you need for better communication in your marriage. Point number 1, don't do it now. Meaning, if you're mad about something, that is not the time to communicate about it. So if you walk into the kitchen, you open the fridge to get some milk for your coffee, and there's no milk because your spouse forgot to buy it, that's not the time to go to your spouse and say, how could you forget the milk? Because you're mad, you're irritated, that conversation is not going to go well. This is not an emergency. Most things in your life are not an emergency. If it's an emergency, you'll know because there will be a lot of blood around. Short of that, this can wait until later. You can say, hey, you know what, I need to go pop out and get some milk, or would you go get some milk? But if you want to talk about how annoyed you are that there isn't milk or that they forgot to go get it when they were shopping, do that later. Wait a little while, come back to it later in the day or the next day. If it's still bothering you, you can talk about it later. It's not going away. Point number 2, take a break. Even if you waited until you were calm and you come and you start talking about it, oh, it's all right. You could get angry about it again, or your spouse will get edgy, or things will get tense. If things begin to get edgy and tense, take a break from the conversation, come back to it later. Trying to push through when you guys are already in the red zone is not going to work. Walk around the block, do some yoga, do some exercise, whatever you got to do to calm yourself down, then come back to the conversation. It'll go better. Point number 3, one person at a time. Meaning, if I'm telling you why I'm annoyed about something, that's not the time for you to jump in and say, well, I'm annoyed about this, or well, really what happened is this. You should listen to me, hear where I'm coming from, and show that you care about that. And then you can switch and talk about why you're annoyed. But if we try to do it at the same time, it looks like this. You'll say this and I'll say this, and it goes up very quickly. We've all been there. If we can establish one person's going to speak and the other person will listen, we can avoid that kind of argument. Point number 4, you need to understand before you solve. You can't solve a problem that you don't understand. But we all try to do this. I come in and I say, there's no milk in the house. And you say, okay, I'll go get some. Or, well, it's not a problem. You can use non-dairy creamer. Whatever it might be, you try to make the problem go away. But the problem is not only that I don't have milk for my coffee. The problem is that I feel like I have to do everything around this house. Or that I can't rely on you. Or whatever the deeper problems are. And if you don't understand what the problem is, then any solution will necessarily be ineffective in the long run. So stop, hear out what's bothering your partner, hear out the whole story. Let's understand what the problem is before we try to solve it. Point number 5, talk about you. Meaning, if I have a problem, if I'm upset about the milk, I'm not going to say, you're lazy, you're forgetful, why do you never think about these things? I'm going to say, you know what, when I don't have milk for my coffee, I'm really grumpy. And I'm feeling kind of annoyed that it seems like I have to do everything around here. That's kind of how I feel about things. I'm telling you what it's like to be me in this moment. I'm telling you my story, in which I am the main character, and you're a supporting character. But if I'm talking about you, I'm inviting you to argue. I'm inviting you to defend yourself. So I'll talk about me, and you should try to understand the world the way I see it. Not to agree with it, but just to understand where I'm coming from, and that will go much smoother. So those are 5 things you need. Those will help improve the communication in your marriage by a lot. I hope you use them well.